Waka, what's up, and welcome back to the channel for yet another FC Finch comparison. That is right, we are going to do Jurassic Brawl Part 4 tonight. I had to make sure I was raising that many fingers, and tonight is going to be the GIGAPOWER GRASSOR Chrome versus the Fans Toys SCORIA. And of course, these are both takes on a Masterpiece Dinobot Slag. We're just going to go right through the Part 4s. And as I stated, this is my comparison version of my program where I am ever changing, so I appreciate you for bearing with me through these early episodes as they facilitate all kinds of changes as I start to adapt to the style that's good for me and, you know, makes sense to me, and I can make something that provides you with a decent product so you have a good medium for comparison. So there we go for that. Now, again, I'm going to start with my usual disclaimer. I'm a huge Dinobots fan, so I am keeping both of these regardless of the outcome. I bought both these figures with my own money, paid a lot for them, and now they're in my collection. I'm planning to keep both of them and alternate them between all their modes and just build a Dinobot team for Fans Toys and GIGAPOWER. So, in my opinion, I love both these figures and I'm keeping the both. So this comparison, even though it's great to have a competition and yeah, one's gonna win and all that stuff, at the end of the day, this is really to help you who has not potentially gotten a Dinobot set in the Masterpiece scale get a set of Masterpiece Dinobots, or find out what you like, what you want, and go from there. So let's get right down with this party starting, and we're gonna start off with the presentation. So what presentation grades is basically how good this is gonna look on your shelf. Goes over a lot of details like the transparent plastic, the paint, and whatnot. So let's kick it off. We're going to start off with the GIGAPOWER first. So GRASSOR is loaded with paint. Now, it should be noted that this is the chrome version. There are chrome versions of the Fans Toys. I do not have it. They are stupid expensive, so you can't get a painted version of Fans Toys SCORIA, but you're going to pay a lot for it. So in terms of close price comparison, this is the best we got. In this comparison, in this price range, the GIGAPOWER is fully painted. In fact, I'm not even sure if you can get an unpainted GIGAPOWER in any version of their figures. And they have the metallics. I believe they have the weathered. So, but anyway, we can see that GIGAPOWER GRASSOR is loaded with paint, loaded with chrome. You got some chrome on the chest here, chrome on the toes, tons of detailing. You got the transparent plastic in the shoulders hiding the golden detail, which looks very good. Of course, again, nice ruby red paint on the chest. It is black plastic for the hands and for the thighs. You do get some nice transparent plastic down here. Tons of gold detailing on the feet, looking very, very good. And then, of course, you have the legs, which crunch in really well down here. They fill in very well. Now, one thing I want to point out, and while it's not cartoon accurate, the GIGAPOWER does store the tail on the back of the legs. And while, again, this isn't cartoon accurate, it does look very, very good, and it stays in place. We'll get to why that matters in a bit. Again, tons of nice painted detail, and it's used in a really nice deep metallic paint on the back for the detailing on the wings. And of course, you got more chrome around the back of the head, nice chrome for the dino head up here and the horns. Again, just looking very good, typical GIGAPOWER styling. If we move on to the Fans Toys, now again, Fans Toys uses a lot of chrome plastic on the chest right here, very nice and shiny. You got chrome for the dino toes, which I believe these are die cast right here, so that looks very, very good. No paint on the shoulders or on the arms in general, but you get some nice transparent plastic, which looks very good. Tons of painted details on the chest, done in a very nice, bright, vibrant red. Face does have transparent, chrome plastic for the eyes and a nice white on the face. Nice brimming red for the head. And then if we move on to legs, you got some transparent detail as well over some conduits. And then while it is molded detail, no paint on the feet, but lots of molded detail. Cartoon, nice clean back of the foot. In fact, overall clean robot in general. You do get the painted detail on the backs of the wings, and then of course the chrome detail all along the back, and chrome detail all along the horns and the head. And of course, the legs do clean up extremely well. Also, one thing I also want to bring about is, since it does matter for presentation, the height. Now, keep in mind, SCORIA was always on the smaller side in terms of the Fans Toys Iron Diebots. I believe you can get the Perfect Fusion Cesium, but it is also a lot of money. I don't think it's as much as the X versions, which are the Chrome versions of the Fans Toys, but it is still a lot of money. So size alone, you can see that the GIGAPOWER is just shy of 13 inches in height. It's absolutely massive. The Fans Toys comes in at about 11.5 inches. So I'm going to give the presentation point over to GIGAPOWER. The Fans Toys does look very good, but I think the GIGAPOWER, just in terms of paint, in terms of the details, and you actually see a lot of the conduits, I just think the GIGAPOWER just absolutely blows it away in terms of shelf presence. Looks absolutely glorious. Moving on to cartoon accuracy, and I'll put an image of the G1 cartoon version of Dinobot Slag, and there he is. I don't have a back image of him, but real quick, I'm already going to tell you we're giving the point to Fans Toys on here. As we already know, GIGAPOWER does go for a more stylized version of the Dinobots, and again, that while it doesn't bode well for them in cartoon accuracy, it just is something a little bit different while still trying to be true to the G1. The Fans Toys definitely gets it more detail, more appropriate to detail in the chest area. Again, it's got the shoulders coming out a little bit more, and of course, where the Fans Toys also wins is, you can see in the back legs, it's just absolutely clean. Fans Toys keeps the back legs very nice and skinny, unlike the GIGAPOWER. Fans Toys also, even though it's kind of tucked in here in a backpack, they still do hide the tail away much better than the GIGAPOWER. So I am going to give the cartoon accuracy point over to Fans Toys, and that kind of is the typical win for Fans Toys, but we will give that to them. Next thing we're going to go over is the accessories, and I struggled with this. As we all know, this is going to change again from my Graviter review. My Graviter comparison to Fans Toys Stomp, I did kind of count these as a gimmick because it does go with the gimmick, but I am going to count it back as an accessory, and I'll kind of change the score for that on the Graviter, simply because even though this is towards a gimmick, yes, the fact that you could still put it on him and use it on him, it definitely does count as an accessory. So we're going to get to that, but let's start off. So we're going to start off with the first accessory is the gun, and of course the GIGAPOWER comes with their gun cast in black plastic. It does have a light up feature via the button on back. We'll count that towards a gimmick a little later on. The Fans Toys also comes with a gun. It is painted, it is looks like it is painted in silver, and it does have the handle. It also does light up. We'll count that as a gimmick for later on. So that is 1 for 1 as far as accessories. Next up, the GIGAPOWER comes with a sword as well. It is cast in black plastic, done with a transparent red for the blade. It also lights up similarly to the gun. No batteries in mind, same with the guns. And the SCORIA also comes with a blade, a bit more heavily stylized with a nice chrome red hilt and a transparent plastic, also done in red. It also lights up as well. So we're going to tie them out on the sword and the gun. Now here's where GIGAPOWER kind of takes the lead. It kind of starts to take the lead. They do come with alternate heads as well. I forget what this is from, but the GIGAPOWER does have a completely different stylized head done in a black plastic with a painted silver face and red eyes. The Fans Toys comes with a head that is similarly painted in red and has the silver mouth with the same chrome blue eyes. So we're going to tally them out. Now, I do want to note one thing. Both of these carry the same gimmick. You can switch the faceplates on either of them. So if you want this silver faceplate on the red head that the GIGAPOWER has, you can certainly put that in there. Similarly with the Fans Toys, if you want to put the roaring face on, you simply disassemble the head and you can put it on there. So we're going to give them, they are 3 for 3 now. Now we are going to have the Fans Toys comes with 2 extra faceplates. I'm not going to give them 2 points. I'm going to count this as 1. Again, this just goes with the changing out the faces. So it does give you 2 extra faceplates. So we'll count this out as a single accessory. Either way, it doesn't matter because you do get 2 guns, of course. Now this is to facilitate the gimmick for the GIGAPOWER, but of course it does come with handles, so you can use them. You can actually plug the, I'm not sorry, not handles. It does come with plugs to use it in the robot mode, so you actually plug these guns into his elbow mounts right here. So we are going to count these as 2. We'll count that. I mean, if we counted it 2, the GIGAPOWER already has all these other gimmicks. Now again, these are meant for these are for robot mode. They're meant to facilitate a gimmick, and these are for dyno mode. But nevertheless, you can still use them even if we didn't count this. GIGAPOWER is clearly going to take it on the accessories. They just packed a bit more than the fans toys, so we're going to give GIGAPOWER that. And before I move on, I do want to point out that the fans toys does come with these, but these are not for SCORIA. These are booster shoes for MP08. So just in case anybody brings up, we're not counting these for SCORIA because they go to a completely different action figure. So no, these booster shoes for MP08 do not count. We're going to get into their articulation next, and I have developed a chart. That's right. I have kind of gotten tired, and I'm sure people have noticed that I kind of do the articulation and kind of almost forget what they had and just kind of have been making up results in the end, even though I think they're pretty dead on so far. So I actually developed a chart to kind of keep track, and I did do the articulation already off screen, but we are going to go through it so you just can see all that they can do. We'll go through it very quickly for each of them. So the GIGAPOWER, we are going to... He does come with a head swivel. You can look up just a smidge. You can look down quite a ways. The arms, they go outside on a nice beefy ratchet, and you get quite a range out there. And then, of course, you can go all the way around. It is a bit limited by the wing. Speaking of the wing can go in and out on this hinge right here. You can also fold in this piece right here, more for transformation, but you can still kind of adjust it if you want to. He does come with a bicep swivel. He does get you 90 degrees at the elbow. He does also have articulation in the hands. They do rotate at the wrist. He does have a thumb on a ball joint, and you do get a secondary hinge at the thumb. Looks very good, and you can get down, so all tons of posability there. You do have the hands on a hinge at the base, and then a secondary hinge and a tertiary hinge. And then, of course, the fingers can also splay out. In fact, GRASSOR has some of those posable fingers of the lot, so there we go for that. He does have a waist swivel, and he does have panels that open up at the hip area, and you can open up all 3 of them. And the legs come out, not quite a full-on fusion kick, but he will hold it on a nice beefy ratchet just due to the design of the hip skirts. They do go back. It'll go back almost all the way for a fusion back kick, and then it'll go all the way out to the side, and he will hold it, which is awesome for such beefy legs all the way like that. And then, of course, he does have a knee bend. Of course, it is hindered just simply by the construction of the leg itself. He also does get you a thigh swivel, and he gets you a toe tilt down and a little bit side to side, not too much. So there we go for that. Let's do the fans toys next. So the fans toys, you're going to get a little bit more rotation on the head just due to the design. He doesn't look up all that much. He doesn't look down that much as well. So it's just a little less than the GIGAPOWER. Additionally, he does rotate all around, but not on a ratchet, and that will still be blocked by the wing, just slag things. The arm will go out laterally, but only that much. It is on a beefy ratchet, but just due to the arm design, you only get that much. He does get you a bicep swivel as well, similar to the GIGAPOWER, and he does get you an elbow bend that gets you a little more than 90. He has rotation at the wrist. The thumb is only on a hinge at the base, and the hands have a hinge at the base and a secondary hinge as well, but they do not splay at all. Waist does have a nice swivel. Additionally, the wings can go up and down as well as fro and back. Now, it should be noted that the wings need to be fully down. You get 2 ratchet pits to bring it out. They do need to be fully down to move it in and out, but you can move it up, so hey, you can have that wing spread outward look. The legs do come out, and he holds it well enough because they are nice and skinny, and they go all the way out for a fusion kick, goes almost all the way back for a nice fusion kick, similarly to the GIGAPOWER, and it goes out on a Yeah, but he can't really hold it too much. And of course, this always tends to activate. It's part of the translation, but this always tends to activate. Does get you over 90 at the knee. And then, of course, he does have a thigh swivel. And then he has a little bit in. And he does have a heel tilt, not a toe tilt. So let's go to the score chart. And if you've seen my program before, you know that I'm grading them on kind of two things. I'm grading them on the articulation, but also where they get the point is the range of movement that the articulation offers. So that's what's going to score the point. So they can't just have the articulation move. They need to actually have that range of movement. So if we look at the head first, I'm going to give the head a tie on both of them. The Fans Toys has greater movement side to side and at swivel, and its vertical down is pretty good, but the GIGAPOWER has a solid amount of vertical up and down, even if the swivel is limited a bit by the dyno head on the back. If we move to the arm, no question, the GIGAPOWER is going to take it, if anything, just for that lateral stretch out that the Fans Toy simply cannot do to its design. Then if we go over to the hand, again, the GIGAPOWER is going to take it all the way across the board. The GIGAPOWER just kills it with the hands, especially because they splay and they have more adjustability in the hands, even though the GIGAPOWER, the GRASSOR's hands kind of get a little more on the sloppy side with how they're posed. Moving on to the waist, again, we're going to give it over to the GIGAPOWER with the waist. The GIGAPOWER, even though it does not use the ratchet, it just has a bit more of a waist movement. It does also have the waist panels that are used. Now, the Fans Toys, it actually moves the whole hip, so keep in mind that when we consider the Fans Toys. Moving on to the wings, the Fans Toys is going to get it. It just has the vertical movement up and down and can go in and out as well. So we're going to give that over to the Fans Toys. Moving on to the legs, the Fans Toys is just going to blow away the GIGAPOWER. The GIGAPOWER is mainly hindered just because of the design of the legs and the fact that it included the hip skirts. The Fans Toys just gets the better range of movement, even though I will state that the GIGAPOWER does tend to hold its leg movements a lot better. The Fans Toys is just going to take it. It can do everything the GIGAPOWER can do, and it can hold it, and it does have solid movement in the legs. So Fans Toys is going to take the legs. I'm going to tie them out at the feet. You get the side-to-side movement a little bit with both of them. You get the toe tilt down with the GIGAPOWER. You get the heel tilt down with the Fans Toys. So in terms of categories, Fans Toys is going to take their articulation just by a little bit, namely for its range of movement, especially in the legs. Again, it's going to be 16 to 17, 16 GIGAPOWER, 17 Fans Toys. So Fans Toys will take it. And I kind of want to lump it in, lump articulation in with their build as well. Now, since we already kind of saw it, the GIGAPOWER tends to use more ratchets and they hold in a lot better than the Fans Toys. Like when we move the Fans Toys leg, it just, depending on the pose, it kind of really struggles. You can see it moving down a bit. So even with these light legs, the Fans Toys still tends to not hold its own weight as well. Additionally, one thing I want to note about the GIGAPOWER is that even though while the tail storage is not cartoon accurate, it holds in the tail very well. In fact, the GIGAPOWER really holds all of its poses extremely well. With the Fans Toys, and you can kind of see it on my copy, the tail on the back just kind of shoves in here. It's supposed to be held in by a slot right back here, but mine never wants to stay in very well, and it constantly comes down. Additionally, while you're moving the legs, this hinge or transformation also likes to move quite a bit. It doesn't really lock in all that well. So while Fans Toys is going to take the articulation by a little bit, I'm going to give the build over to the GIGAPOWER. I just feel like the GIGAPOWER is definitely more solidly built. You definitely get a lot of nice chunky movements. It holds its own poses very well. So we're going to give the build over to the GIGAPOWER. So there they are, transformed into their Triceratops alt mode. And real quick, before we get into their alt modes, we want to talk a little bit about the transformation for each one. Surprisingly, I'm honestly going to tie them out on transformation. They both are relatively easy to transform. They both have a few quirky issues when transforming them. For example, so GIGAPOWER, and this is typically where I have issues with most GIGAPOWERs, is just the way that the legs kind of come back around and kind of, you really have to kind of put the thighs forward a little bit to get the legs to position themselves properly. And so that's kind of where I have the issue there. It's just a little bit of one. It's not anything mind-blowing or breaking. And it's the Fans Toys, actually the similar issue, just kind and getting the legs to line, the rear legs to line up over the back end of the body. And of course, you have this entire back assembly that just kind of swings out from under its belly. You have to unfold it, and that can kind of flip in and get in the way. They both look beautiful when they're fully assembled, but for the most part, just again, for the most part, very easy transformation, but it does have those little quirks there. So I'm gonna actually tie them out in a transformation, which is interesting because I usually am not a fan of GIGAPOWER's over-engineering, but they seem to actually ditch the over-engineering for GRASSOR. So there we go for that. And real quick, before we move on, I do want to make a quick note about their engineering, since this is a category, and I'm going to give them a tie on both. They really accomplish the same objective relatively similarly. Both transformations are relatively easy with the slight amount of frustration. Everything seems to work really well. I don't really have any questionable engineering choices about these two. They both seem to do a solid job of that. So tie for engineering on both of them. Now let's get into their alt mode. And again, you can see right away that GIGAPOWER just taking the presence there. It's wow, it's inches. It is inches. We got, let's see, let's break out the ruler. It's probably a good about 1.5 inches, 2 inches in difference there. So there we go for that. So we'll get into GIGAPOWER real quick, and again, done in the nice chrome, fully painted. Just looks really good. Does have some articulation, so you can actually spin the head all the way around. It can go up a little bit, it can go down. You got the mouth that opens up. You have the arms, which are now the front legs, and of course you can go to and fro on the legs. You can also use that bicep adjustment, excuse me, if you want to. You can adjust the fan if you want to. It's supposed to be back, I think, but you can also adjust his horns as well. And then of course he's got the back legs on a ball joint. This is not the thickest thing in the world, which is kind of silly. His toesies they do have a little bit of movement as well. Actually, these go all the way back due to transformation, so you could actually bring those all the way back if you want. And of course he does have rotation at the back leg, and the tail does wag a little bit for a nice dino gimmick. And then of course if you go to the fans toys, you can also lift the head up, you can look down, he can also rotate his head all the way around. And then of course you can also adjust the fins, and no adjustment on his back fin, so it's all one solid assembly. You do get a little bit out on the legs, pretty much the same movement arms. You get all the way around, and then you get no back adjustment, you get some forward adjustment. And these legs are also on a ball joint, so you get about the same amount out, but they are a little more sturdier than the GIGAPOWER. And these back legs move on a ratchet just back and forth a little bit. And then you got his tail, which wags as well, and also you got the mouth as well. So I'm gonna also kind of tie them out on the dino mode as well. I love that I think the fan toys has a more cartoon accurate look, but you can't deny the mass and the heft of the GIGAPOWER. It really is something impressive to behold. I feel like the GIGAPOWER has a little bit more articulation in the dino department. In terms of where it's hindered at, of course, the rear legs are kind of the downer in the way they're hindered, and the lack of movement in the forelegs on the fans toys are a bit hindered as well. I do also want to point out, actually, no, I'm going to wait till Gimmicks to point it out. So there we go for dino mode. I'm going to tie them both out in dino mode. Next up, I want to talk about their gimmicks, and I showed these parts earlier for the accessories, which I'm not counting as an accessory. I'm counting it as a gimmick, and this is to help facilitate the toy look in dino mode for the GIGAPOWER. So we have these masks that you can put on that'll make him look like his toy, which has the transparent head and whatnot. But to counter that, the fans toys does have the this little chest piece that goes down. This is its chest piece right down here. It goes down for dino mode to cover up all the pelvic area, and you do see some little details back here. So we're going to count that as a gimmick for the fans toys. Additionally, fans toys has the cannon in the mouth, which GIGAPOWER also has as well. You can get that cannon in there, and also GIGAPOWER can wag its tail. Same thing with the fans toys, he can wag his tail as well. Additionally, they both have light up guns and swords, so there we go for that. One thing that I'm going to count the GIGAPOWER for is an extra gimmick is the GIGAPOWER does have the gimmick to give it the toy look in the robot mode as well. So I'm actually going to give gimmicks over to GIGAPOWER. They're very close in gimmicks, but ultimately, I do think the fact that GIGAPOWER can pull off the toy look in both modes versus just the Dino mode or the robot mode is very cool, and the GIGAPOWER actually obviously put a lot of time into that. Additionally, I think that the ability to kind of change between the toy mode and the animation mode is a better gimmick in general. So gimmicks are going to go to GIGAPOWER. Moving on to the next category, which is, of course, price. Now, obviously, these things fluctuate all the time, but we are going to use as close to the original pricing as we can. And for that, I'm going to go with Show Z Story. Yes, I know you can get these for either more or less or whatever through other sales. We're just going to use Show Z as a medium here in this argument. Now, real quick, for the GIGAPOWER GRASSOR, in an odd twist of fate, this thing cost $195, at least per Show Z. I think this was for the Chrome re-release, so really interesting there. The Fans Toy SCORIA per Show Z, $179, believe it or not. So we can see where the height becomes the detriment for the GIGAPOWER GRASSOR. Now, real quick, that we got to bring about this argument because, of course, both of these are extremely hard to find. Don't get into a false sense of security. You're not gonna pay that. The GIGAPOWER GRASSOR Chrome was re-released a couple years ago. It quickly went out of stock. Fans Toy SCORIA has not been seen in quite some time outside of eBay or whatnot. Has not been seen on retail, at least not as far as I know. And if you go on eBay, you're looking at least $300, maybe getting away with $275 for the SCORIA. I paid about $350 for mine from a private seller, and I thought that was a decent deal. So either way, now it should be noted that the GIGAPOWER GRASSOR Metallic is up for pre-order on Show Z at a price of $199, but that's a different color scheme than this, unless you don't mind mixing and matching. So again, we're gonna give this Fans Toys the point for the price, but just keep in mind that realistically speaking, both of these are probably one of the more expensive of the Dinobots from each set. Now we're going to move on to subscribers' choice, and that is where, if you'll check out my community section, hey, more of you are doing that. We got 29 votes this time. I put a poll based on looks alone. Which of these looks superior to you? And we can see right there in the results, 72%, basically 2/3 of you guys, 20 of you said that the GIGAPOWER GRASSOR looked better than the Fans Toys SCORIA. So we're going to give the subscribers' choice over to SCORIA there. And again, this is why it's important to check out my community section, because I do post these things and we're trying to get more community involvement from time to time. So definitely check that out so you can vote on the next one, especially if I continue doing these comparisons, because I will be seeking the your viewership opinion. So there we go. So let's summarize, and there we have it for Jurassic Brawl Part 4 Battle of the Slags, GRASSOR versus SCORIA. We can see on the scoreboard right here that we have a score of 9-6 with the win going to the GIGAPOWER. And I'm going to be quite frank here. Bottom line, I believe that the GIGAPOWER in this case is just the overall better figure. It's got a lot, again, nice, tight, beefy joints. Transformation is fun. It's enjoyable. It's not over-engineered like the other GIGAPOWERs. Beautiful, colorful, bright. It's got the shelf presence. The Fans Toys in this case, and a lot of people already know that this is the case with the SCORIA. It's just too small. It does have the right materials. The transformation is fun. It's nice and posable, but it's just too small, and there's too many floppy things hanging around. I can never get the tail end to tab in perfectly in Dino mode. The legs really don't want to cooperate. They don't really lock in very well. So again, it just, as far as the Diebots go, this is probably one of the more problematic of the Diebots, which is weird because it's probably one of the more harder to find of the Diebots. In fact, both these guys are hard to find for what they are. Now, that being said, you can, of course, get the Perfect Fusion Cesium, which I believe fixed some of these issues, and it's, of course, tall, I do believe. Correct me in the comments. Or you can get the X versions if you want more paint, but you're going to pay more for those as well, and you're already paying a lot for both of these. Now, if you want to see any in-depth details, feel free to check out my individual reviews for each of them. I'll post links in the description down below so you can check those out. I will post a link to Show Z, the metallic, so you can get the metallic version if you decide you want a GRASSOR for yourself. Since the Chrome one, you're going to have to go to eBay for either the ones you have on my table right here. And I'm not going to post links to eBay. So there we have that. And that being said, as well, if you liked this video and found it fun and enjoyable, feel free to hit that like button down below. That helps me out. Also, consider subscribing to my channel if you like Transformers reviews, everything Transformers. I do reviews, comparisons, all about 2 to 3 times a week. Not as big as some of the other big guys out there, but hey, you know what? I'm growing, and 428 subscribers, picked up 2 last night, so I am more than grateful. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey, and thank you to those of you who are considering subscribing right now. And that being said, that is going to conclude this comparison. I have been FC Finch. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.